To hear us. My name's Mark Messina. I'm president of Nebraskans for Peace, and we're gathered here today to listen to some of our local experts and economists speak about the need to cut the military budget, the federal military budget. Although we're standing in front of the state capitol building, the head of our state government, this of course is a federal issue. But it is appropriate that we're standing underneath the statue of Abraham Lincoln, who presided over a devastating war that tore our country apart and cost it many lives and many dollars, too. We're now in the midst of two wars ongoing for many years that are this kind of lethal action by our government is hurting us in ways that isn't necessarily obvious to us in the way that the Civil War was probably obvious to everybody at that time. Anyway, we've got a number of people to give you some important information and their take on the situation. We'll start with Hank Vandenberg. He's a professor of economics at UNL.
Thank you. Well, we're here today next to the state capitol where our representatives are debating a budget. So in a way it is appropriate to be here. Budget is on everyone's mind. But also today, President Obama delivered his budget proposal to Congress. And we hear here and in Washington spending decisions are constrained by projections of deficits. These are caused, of course, by rising expenditures and falling tax revenues. We're told that we all have to accept cuts in our favorite programs. We must share the burden. Amidst all the rhetoric, we're here today to urge Americans to step back for just a moment and regain some perspective on the issue. It doesn't take long to gain a clear view that the biggest single contributor to our budget deficit is defense and national security expenditures. Take a look at what we spend on what we call national security. Department of Defense budget, plus the special appropriations for our wars of choice in Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and elsewhere, sum to an estimated $750 billion for 2011. That's 5% of GDP. 5% of everything we do in this country is devoted to that by the Defense Department. But it doesn't end there. We take the CIA, the NSA, Homeland Security, and many other agency expenditures. We have to add those in. Remember, it's the CIA that flies many of the murderous drones that bomb villages in foreign lands. And it was our CIA, of course, that supported Hosni Mubarak, the Egyptian dictator that the people of Egypt so courageously forced out of office this past week. Total cost of these agencies, about another $80 billion. Then, of course, there's Veterans Affairs. About $100 billion per year. No, I'm not proposing cutting off veterans by any means. Something that actually some representatives are urging that we do. But clearly, our expenditures on veterans are directly related to the defense expenditures. They're part of the same package. Fewer wars, and we have fewer injured and disabled veterans that we have to care for. Then there are the additional programs, such as the Department of Energy's involvement in the nuclear program, about $20 billion per year. NASA's military activities, perhaps $10 billion. The State Department's role in national defense and contractors, again, a significant portion of a total budget of about $50 billion in international programs. Put it all together and we end up at around $1 trillion. Some estimate even over that. Special operations, contractor operations, surveillance, putting it all together, that's about 7% of GDP. And it's close to 30% of our federal budget. This is truly an elephant in the room. This is large. Everything is on the table, we're told. We must therefore resign ourselves to cutting programs that the great majority of Americans want: Social Security, education, Medicaid, Medicare, and many other parts of the social safety net. Interestingly, defense expenditures, that elephant in the room, are seldom mentioned. Oh yes, there is a cut in the Pentagon budget in the President's proposed budget. By the way, he proposed $78 billion over 10 years. That's $7.8 billion per year. That is less than 1% of the total defense budget. So it's a pretty meaningless gesture there. In any case, with the additional expenditures on the invasions, occupations of Iraq, Afghanistan, defense expenditures are in real terms 80% higher today than they are in the year 2000. That's without those additions. With the additions, we are more than double that we were less than 10 years ago. The proposed cut that Obama, again, proposes is essentially insignificant. Yet, for the most part, national defense remains off limits for even the most avid budget cutters. It's really incredible how little the defense budget is mentioned in the discussion. But it doesn't take much reasoning to conclude that we could easily cut the defense budget and the related expenditures in half, as our banner behind me says. We already account for half of all military expenditures in the entire world. Our NATO allies account for nearly another 25%. And then of the remaining countries, we certainly can't look at those as our enemies. India, Brazil, South Africa, Korea, last I heard, were allies. Put that all together, and over 80% of the defense expenditures in the world are ours or our allies. And even the expenditures of Russia and China, who we do not consider our enemies, at least judging from recent statements, those are still a very small portion of the total. And much of their expenditure is a reaction to our expenditures. In short, we can greatly cut defense expenditures. No one is going to try to conquer us, even if we cut our defense expenditures in half. It is still, cutting it in half, a monstrous $500 billion per year. So the question I ask, why is our $1 trillion per year contribution to the completely unnecessary accumulation of weapons and military force not at the front of the budget table? Does anyone see the elephant in the room? Only defense contractors, military bosses looking forward to future careers at those contractors, and politicians who accept the defense contractors' contributions gain from this craziness. For their benefit, the rest of us are now being railroaded into enduring lower Social Security payments, worse health care, poorly educated children. Let's focus on cutting the budget properly by cutting the biggest welfare or the biggest waste first. Let's start by cutting the defense budget in half. That will correct the budget by $500 billion per year. It dwarfs any of the other proposals, even the draconian Republican proposals of reducing expenditures by $100 trillion. We can take $500 billion, $500 trillion off very easily. Ask your congressman, why is he ignoring this no-brainer answer to our budget proposal?